Hello everyone and welcome back to Coding Monk. So in the previous part we completed this login form, and now in this video we are going to create the sign up form, forgot password and new password page. Okay. So before starting this part, I just want to correct one mistake that I made in the previous part. And that is, we have to use inside this login form, we have to use this login schema inside this yup resolver. Okay, so in place of this login form, you need to replace it with login schema. Okay, and you can save it. Now if you go back and you can also refresh your app. Okay, then if you remove this email id, then you will see, now if I submit this login form, then you can see that our validation is working. Okay, and this is just exactly what we wanted, and you can also see that this is saying email must be a valid email address, so it's showing proper validation. Right, now we need to focus on building sign up page, so let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is to close all the open files. Okay, and then I'm also going to collapse all this. Okay, now you can go to source. Okay, then we are going to go inside this pages and then auth directory, and here we are going to create a new page for the register screen. So let's create a new file, register.js. Okay, and now here we can create a new react functional component like this. Okay, I hope you are following along with me. And now, so this is just like as we did in the login form, we are going to use this stack to group various things in the vertical direction. Okay, so let's do that. So we are going to use this stack from material UI. Okay, it's already imported from the material UI. I'm just going to move it down. Okay, keep react at the top, and after that let's also use the same properties that we did here, spacing 2 and this margin button 5 and position relative here. Okay, and now inside this we're just going to write one typography. Okay, then we'll hook this up in the routes. So in the typography, let's just write get started with talk. Okay, since this is the onboarding page, or you can say register page. Okay, so we can use this type of heading, and here in place of variant I'm going to give it h4. Okay, which will give it some styling. So let's now save this, and we also need to actually use it inside the routes. Okay, so I'm going to go inside this index.js file here. Okay, and just like we did for the login page, we also need to import the register page here. Okay, so let's just change it to register page. Okay, and in place of this path auth slash, we're going to use register. Okay, and also we need to add it here. Okay, so I'm going to add another children in this array, and this will use the component that we just imported here, register page. Okay, and the path for it will be auth slash register. So now after we have done this, let's save this page, and you can now actually refresh your app. Okay, and if I click on create an account, then we get redirected to auth slash register. Okay, and here you can see the heading that we just created, get started with talk. So I hope this is coming up nicely till now. Okay, and now what we can do is to add more components here. So again we are going to use another stack. Okay, because we want to again create something like this as we did in the login page. Okay, like typography and then again a link for another page. Right, so here I'm just going to write direction of row like this. Okay, and then I'll give it a spacing. So a spacing of 0.5, that means 0.5 multiplied by 8 or 4 pixels. I hope this is clear. And now we can add a text here, typography, using this typography component from material UI. So we'll just say already have an account. Okay, this type of question. And if a user already has an account, then we are going to give them a link to the sign in page. Okay, and this link is actually going to come from material UI. Okay, so make sure you import it from @MUI slash material, just like this. And now inside this we are going to give it some text. Okay, sign in, and in this link we need to provide few props. So the first one will be component, and this component is actually going to take a component which is a link, and it comes from react router DOM. Since we have already imported a component named link from material UI, so we are going to rename it as router link. So let's just import link from React router DOM, but this time we are going to rename it as router link. Okay, so I'm going to use it here, router link. Okay, and then we need to specify this mandatory prop to, okay, which will define where this link is going to take the user to. So this will take the user to auth/login, and let's also give it a variant. Okay, so the text that will appear here, that is sign in, will have this properties associated with subtitle 2. Okay, as we have defined in our theme. Okay, let's format this, and now I'm going to save it, and you can see in your app you get this already have an account and sign in. And here I can see that we haven't styled this already have an account, so let's give it a variant. So I'm going to give it a variant of body 2. And the next thing that we are going to do here is to add a form here. So let me just make a comment here, because we will be creating the form separately. Okay, inside sections directory, I'll just show you. Okay, and after that we'll use it here. Okay, so before that, let's also add few other things that we need to add here, and that is the terms and conditions type of thing. Okay, you must have seen it in various other forms in other websites, so let's just add that here. So I'm going to give this a prop of component div. It is going to act like div. Okay, then we are going to give this few properties. Okay, CSS properties. So let's give it a color. So I'm just going to give it text dot secondary. So this is actually going to give it a secondary color from the text palette, okay, as defined in our theme. And let's also give it a margin top of 3. And for the typography variant, we can specify this property typography and give this a value of caption. And please note that this property typography inside SX is only valid in material UI. Okay, please keep this in mind. And after this, we can give this text align property, and we are going to set its value to center. Okay, like this. Now we can just add some text here. Okay, so I'm just going to add by signing up. Okay, we're just going to write it quickly. I agree to. Okay, then we can provide a link to terms of service. So let's use the link component again from material UI. Okay, and we are going to actually make it underlined. Okay, so for that we can provide a prop here which will be underline. Okay, so underline always. So you can actually check what values it can actually take. So just write this string and then press control plus spacebar. Okay, so here we are going to give this value of always. Now for the color property, we are going to give it this color of text dot primary. Okay, so this is as per our theme, text dot primary. Okay, like this. And let's write the text here, terms of service. Let's see what we get actually. I'm going to save this, and now you can see we have this kind of UI where we have this link which is saying terms of service and it's underlined, right? We can actually provide the prop 2, so that will make it blue like this. Okay, since this is not going to direct the user to anywhere, so this is in the black color right now. And similarly, again we'll have a end here in between, and then again another link, and that will be just our privacy policy. Okay, privacy policy. So this is just a project. Okay, we are not actually making any real app here, like for providing any service like WhatsApp. So these things, terms and privacy policy, doesn't really matter here. Okay, but you know how to do it just in case. Okay, let's actually format this document, and I'm going to actually introduce some spacing here between end. Okay, so now you can see the text is much more readable, right? And let's just create the register form. Okay, like we created the login form, and then we will just hook it up here. So let's move on to the sections folder. Okay, then inside this we can go to auth and create a new file which will be called register form. Okay, and I think this is going to be pretty simple. Okay, because we have already created this login form. So let's first of all create a React functional component here, okay, with the name of register form. Now here what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy these things, okay, from the top of the login form, because these are going to remain almost same, okay. So let's just take it from there, and I'm going to paste this here, and let's start making changes here, okay, as needed. Here also we are going to ask the user for a password, so we will keep this so password, okay, this is state, and let's actually import use state whatever is missing here, okay. Then again we are going to make validation here as well, so for that purpose we are going to need yep. So let's import yep, okay. So I'm going to say that import or everything as yep from yep, like this, okay. And we can actually make changes here, so we are going to call it register schema in place of login schema. And for these fields we are actually going to have email and password, and the validation rules will remain the same. Along with these we are going to have two other properties, and that will be the user's first name and last name. So for that we can write first name property like this, and then yep dot string, that means we want this to be a proper string, okay. And then we can also make it a required field, okay. And if the user is not actually giving its value and just submitting the form, then we want to show this message to the user, first name is required, okay. So I think this is pretty simple, as you already, if you have watched the previous video, then you must be clear about it, okay. And we can also write the same for the last name, and just make change here, last name is required, okay. Now after that we can change this default values, okay. So when a user is actually coming up to sign up on our platform, then we don't want to actually populate any first and last name, okay. So we can keep it just like this, or if you wish you can keep some dummy values here, okay. That's your choice. And after that we need to import these things here. Let me correct this to register schema, and then we need to import these two things, use form and yep resolver. So let's do that here. So yep resolver is going to come from hook forms resolver slash yep, okay. So let me write here like this, and use form, it's going to come from react hook form library, okay. So let's get this use form, okay. And we need to actually write it here, because my editor is not suggesting it out of the box, so I need to write it here, react hook form. Now let's focus on this. This is also going to remain the same, okay, as it is. Now we can also check this on submit function. This on submit function we can keep it the same, okay. And then this catch block is also correct. Now we can focus on just this JSX part, okay. So just like the previous time, you can see in our login form we need to wrap our form with this form provider. So I'm just going to copy it out from there, okay, or let's just write it here, okay. So I'll just write form provider, and this form provider is actually going to come from our components folder, okay, because we created our own form provider. So make sure you use that one, okay. And after that we need to pass it this methods and on submit. So let's just take it from the login page, okay, because we have already explained that. And after that we can start actually building our form inside here. So for this error part we are actually going to keep it the same way, okay. So I'm going to again use this stack, okay, then group all of the fields together along with the button, okay, for submission. So let's get this done. I'm going to use a stack component here from the material UI, okay. Let's also give it this spacing of 3, spacing of 3, that means 24 pixels, okay. And I'm going to just keep the alert or error message same, okay. So we need to import this component alert from material UI, okay. So let's just import it. And now I've imported this wrong component alert title, let's remove that, okay. It's all good till now. And after that we can start building the first name, last name, then email and password. Okay, so for the first and last name, we are actually going to group these two together inside a stack. Okay, so in larger screen size, what we want is first name and last name will take half of the space of this row. Okay, okay, and when it's on mobile device, okay, it will take its separate row, both fields. So for that purpose, I am actually going to show you how to write conditional statement here. Okay, so inside any MUI component, okay, when you pass a prop, okay, you can actually use this double curly bracket, and inside this we can specify condition like this. For extra small, we can specify a different value. Okay, let's say column, and for another screen size or another breakpoint, we can specify another value. Okay, so this is how we pass conditional value to any prop inside material UI. It's actually very useful, so you should keep this in mind. And we can also give it some spacing. Let's give it a spacing of 2. Okay, now here we can use the control component that we created in the last part, RHF text field here again, and this is just going to be self closing. Okay, because we just need to pass it some prop and no content. So we are going to keep its name same as we defined here in the schema. Okay, first name, last name, email and password. So we are going to use this name first name here, and we can also pass a label here which will be shown in the input. Okay, this will be shown to the user, which will indicate them what they have to fill inside. Okay, and similarly we can also use last name property, okay, as we defined in our schema, and also update that here. Now let's just save it till here. Okay, then I'm going to actually use this register form inside our register page, register form. Okay, like this. Let's save this, and now after our code is compiled, we are going to move to the sign up page or auth/register, and here you can see we get exactly what we wanted. These two fields, first name and last name, taking half of the space, okay, of the row. And now we can add just other two fields, and these are email and password. So I'm just going to take it up from here, and we can just replicate it like this. Okay, we just need to change the name and label property. So the first one is going to be email and the second one is going to be password. Okay, let's also update it here, email and password. Then we are going to see how it looks, okay, on our page. So after saving this, you can see we get UI like this. Okay, and this is just what we wanted. Okay, you can see the label here and we have proper fields with validation. Now we also need to implement functionality of hiding and showing password inside the password input. Okay, so for that I'm not going to actually write the whole logic again and again. You can just take it up from the login form. Okay, let me explain it to you once again. So what we are basically doing, we are maintaining a local state inside this form. Okay, and we are storing the value of show password. Okay, it can be true or false. Initially it's set to false, and now when it's false, then the type of this input field, RHF text field, will be password. That means the password will appear in a dotted manner. Otherwise, if show password is true, then it will be a simple text input component that will make the password visible. Okay, and for the end icon that we are able to click, we can use this property of input props, and inside that we can pass this end adornment. So whatever component that we can place at the start or at the end of any input component, that is known as adornment. So that is why we are using this end adornment property, which is given inside material UI. Okay, then we can make use of this input adornment component, which allows us to basically place any component at the end or start. Okay, and after that it's just a simple react component. Okay, icon button. Okay, and we have placed this property on click. Okay, so whenever this icon button will be clicked, then we will actually switch the value of show password. If it is true, then it will be set to false and vice versa. And for the icon, we are actually rendering it conditionally. If the show password is true, then we are showing eye icon, otherwise we are showing closed eye icon. Okay, so I hope this is clear. So let's now just copy it from here, this input props. Make sure you copy it correctly. Okay, these two double curly brackets should be included, and now let's just place it inside this password. Okay, like this. And we also need to get this type property here. Okay, so let's just place it here now. we need to import few components here. So let's just import these. This input adornment coming from material UI, icon button is also going to come from material UI, and this I and I slash, since these are icons, so we are importing it from first for React library. Okay, just like this. And now you can see we have this functionality of show and hide password, and that is actually great. Okay, let's now build further. So now we can just place a button like this, okay, at the end. So I'm just going to copy this button. Okay, I have already explained how to build this kind of button in the previous video. So after this stack, inside this from provider, we are just going to place this button component, and let's just also import this button from the material UI library like this. And here I'm going to just change the text here. I'll say create account. Okay, and now let's save this. Okay, and we get this create account button as well. Now you can see that we are missing the spacing, so I'm just going to move it inside the stack. Okay, like this, and now it looks much better. And there is one more thing that I would like to add here, and that is we can add social login. Okay, just like this. In the login form, we can also add it to the sign up page, because user can also sign up using social platforms. Okay, so we are just going to go inside the register page. Okay, and as you may remember, in the last video we created this auth social component. Okay, which is basically going to render these three different icon buttons. So I'm going to just use that here inside the register page after this terms and condition typography. So I'm going to write here auth social. Okay, and you can see it is going to be imported from the sections auth social file. So let's just use it like this. Okay, so now we have this register screen and as well as this login screen. So now we can focus on making new password and forward password screens. Okay, so let's just create another pages inside this pages directory and then auth. Okay, so first of all we are going to create a file and we'll call it forgot or reset password. Okay, now we can just create a react functional component again, okay, with this name. Okay, and after this we're just going to start adding some content here. Okay, so let's remove the initial content that we had, and after that I'm going to place this react fragment, and inside this again I will be using a stack to place some components, okay, in a vertical direction. So stack is going to come from material UI, so let's just import it, and then we need to give it some spacing. Okay, so 2 means 16 pixels. Okay, and sx prop for some styling, so let's give it some margin from the bottom. We'll give it 5. Okay, and position relative. Okay, and now inside this we are just going to write a heading forward password. Okay, for now, and then we'll just render this on a route. So let's just use this typography component from material UI and add this content forward password, right, like this question mark, or you can also write forgot your password. Okay, this will look better, I think. And here we can then add this variant. Okay, so let's just add variant h3, and I'm also going to add this paragraph. Okay, this prop, this is actually a boolean prop. Okay, so if it is true, then the element will be a paragraph element. So that, I hope you actually get what I'm trying to write here. Okay, this is going to just behave like the p tag in HTML. Okay, now after this we can also add some more content here. Okay, so I already have it, so I'm just going to copy and paste it out, because I don't want to write this long text here. Okay, and here then we can actually add some styling here. So for the color we can just use these, so we can just use these short codes like text dot secondary. Okay, so this is actually coming from the material UI theme. And now after saving this, let's just go to the routes folder. Okay, so here is our routes folder, and inside there we will navigate inside this index.js file. Now what I want to do is to add two other pages here, or let's just add this reset password for now. Okay, so first of all we will need to add that page here. Okay, so I'm going to import that, or we can just replicate this here. Okay, and then just change the name. So let's write here reset password. Okay, reset password page, and here also I'm going to change it to reset password like this. And now we can use that component that we just imported, okay, and render it. So I'm going to write here reset password page, and in place of this path I'm going to change it to reset dash password. Okay, so now after saving this, if you go back to your app and refresh it, okay, now if I visit reset dash password after this auth, okay, please remember that, and you can see we get this forgot password in this text that we just placed in our page. And after that, what we can do is, and after this we can just add a comment here, okay, like we are going to really place reset password form here, okay, and after that we'll be actually placing a link so that user can navigate back to the login screen. Okay, so for that let's just use this component link which is from material UI. Okay, don't import it from react router DOM. Okay, after that we are also going to use the link component which is available inside react router DOM. So for that purpose, since we have already imported it, we are going to rename it as router link. Okay, so let's just try it, import it from react router DOM. Okay, and now we can just add few props here to this link component. So the first one will be the component prop. So we can just add this router link. Okay, so it's just going to behave like, so it's actually coming from material UI, but its behavior would be exactly similar to what the link does in react router DOM. Okay, so I hope you get that point. And to navigate it, okay, so when a user clicks on this, we want the user to go back to the login screen. So that's why we are going to provide this path here inside this to prop. Okay, and for the color we are just going to say inherit, so it is going to take inherited color. Okay, and then for the variant we are going to actually give it subtitle 2. Okay, we can provide any variant which is available for text inside material UI here. And for the styling we can just use this sx prop. Okay, and let's just give it some margin from the top 3, and in the horizontal direction I'm going to give it this margin of auto. Okay, and let's also give these properties align item center. So these are just basic css properties and you must be very familiar with these. Okay, so also give this display inline flex. Okay, so this is just this simple styling that we have done here. Okay, and after that I'm going to place an icon here first of all, so that will be an arrow in the left direction, so that is actually called caret left inside phosphor react library. So we have just imported this caret left from the phosphor react library, and now we can also place our text here. So I'm going to say here return to sign in. Okay, so this will actually prompt the user to return to the sign in page if they have just visited this forgot password page but they don't actually want to, or they just want to go back to the sign in page. Okay, so now after this we're just going to create a form which will simply contain the email and a submit button. So that will allow our users to submit their email, and then we'll be sending a link to their email which will actually contain a key. Okay, or it will basically contain a link which will take the user back to our application but with a code. Okay, and it will be like this, question mark and then code is equal to some random string which will contain lots of information like who is trying to actually reset their password and when did they requested it, and a signature from our API. So I'll explain that later. Okay, so I hope you get the point. Now let's just focus on creating this reset password form for now. So we can go back to the sections folder inside the source directory, and inside that auth. Okay, and here we are just going to create a new file which will be reset password form. Okay, and this is going to be very similar to what we have done inside login and register form. So what I'm going to actually do here, I'm just going to copy and paste all of this code from the login form inside this reset password form, and then I'll just make few changes to it. Okay, because this is just what we want to do here. Okay, so here we are not going to actually ask for any type of password from the user, so I'll just remove that user state. And also I'm going to rename this component to reset password form, okay, like this. And let's also copy this and change at the export. In this button we are going to change the text to send request. Send request means the user will be sending a request to our API or the backend to send them an email for resetting their password, okay. So we are just going to keep the text to send request. And after that we are going to actually remove this stack with this forgot password thing. And we also don't need any type of password, as I just said, okay. We are just going to need this email address, and we'll also be actually using this error message, okay. So if something goes wrong, then we will be showing the user what the error happened after the form was submitted. So I'm just going to keep it here, okay, and also this email field. And let's also make the changes here. So as you already know, from the default values we will be removing the password field, okay, and also from the schema. And also let's rename this schema to reset password schema, okay. And then let's also change it here, reset password schema. And this email thing is correct, okay, we need that. And we also want to keep its format to email, and this message will be shown if the email is incorrect. So let's actually use it. And before that, let's also remove these unwanted import statement, okay. These are not actually getting used, so let's remove those, okay. So you can format this file, okay. Then we are going to use it inside this reset password form. So here I am going to write reset password form, and you can see it will be imported from sections auth reset password form, okay. Let's save this. And now after our app is compiled, you can come back to the web app, okay, and then refresh your page. Now here you can see we get this send request button along with this input. The only thing is that we want some spacing here, okay. So we are actually going to go inside the reset password form again, okay. And then here what we can do actually is we can move this button inside the stack, okay. So I'm just going to do exactly that. So this is completely valid, okay. You can refresh this page again, and now you can see it's looking much better now. We can also click on this button return to sign in, and we will be taken back to the login or sign in screen. And now we can also actually pass the to prop to this forgot password inside the login form. So let's just do that. So inside the login form where we have this forgot password, I'm going to give it this to prop, okay. So I'll just write auth slash reset password. And we also need to actually pass the component prop here, okay, because this link is from the material UI, okay. So it's not going to behave like it should. So we should pass the link which is going to come from react router DOM. So we have to import link as router link, okay, from react router DOM, just like this. And here then we can pass component as router link, okay. Let's now save this. And if you go back to your app, okay, and click forgot password, then now you can see we are getting redirected to this forgot password page. And we can go back to the login page again. And there is one more thing, like when the user will be getting a mail to reset their password, okay, and then when they will be clicking on the link that we have sent, then what is going to happen is we will be taking the user back to our application on just a different page, okay. So there the user will have, just as I explained, okay, earlier, some code here, okay. And that code will be sent along with the new password and confirm password that the user will be providing to us, okay. So this code will be passed along with that password to the backend, and then we'll verify if the request was legit, then we'll reset the password using this code. So I hope that makes sense to you, and if it doesn't, then don't sweat it, we'll be exploring this in much detail later on. So let's now focus solely on building this page, okay. So I'm going to create another page here. And so let's create a new file, and I'll call it new password, okay. So new password, then again I'm going to create a new React functional component here with this name. I hope this is very clear to you. Now most of the part is going to remain the same. Okay, so I'm going to just take this stack here, okay, because I don't want to write the same properties again and again. I'll just use this React fragment, okay, and let's also import this stack from material UI, and after that we'll be writing a heading, okay. So let's just write a heading here. So it will be just reset password, okay, reset password. Let's also import this typography from material UI like this, okay. Then after that, let's also get the other text that we have placed here, and it will be exactly similar, okay, just the text will be different. This sx and typography component will be same. So I'll just try it here. Please set your new password, okay. So this will give an idea to the user what they have to do, okay. Now after that, I'm going to actually place a comment after this stack, okay. So I'm going to place a comment here, so that will be for new password form, okay. So we are going to actually place new password form here. I hope that makes sense. And after that, again there will be a link to go back to the login page, okay. So just like this, and let's get this link component from material UI, caret left from phosphor react, okay, and this router link from react router DOM. So let's just actually copy the import statement from the reset password file, okay, just like this. Now I'm also going to move this react statement to the top, and now if I save this page, okay, then we just have to link it with this routes, okay. So again we'll be replicating this here. Then I'm going to change this to new new password page. Let's call it new password page, and in this path we'll have to set the path to new password, okay. And now after this we can actually use it inside this auth block, okay. So I'm going to change the element to new password page and this path to new password. And now after placing this new password page, okay, in this auth block, if we save this, okay, and go back to our application and refresh, okay, so if we visit this new password page here, okay, then you can see that we are getting a blank screen. That means some error is happening. So let's explore what is that, okay. Why is it happening actually? So if you open your console, then you will be able to see this error, uncaught error. It's saying that element type is invalid, received a promise that resolves to undefined. And here it's saying that lazy element type must resolve to a class or function. So let me tell you a solution for this and why this happens, okay. There are high chances that you may face this. So here you can see we have written this export statement, and this is a named export, okay. This is not a default export. So when I'm using that extension to create the component quickly, okay, you can see that we are always getting this default export, okay. But this time I actually used a different keyword, okay. So this is not a default export in this case. So that's why that error is occurring. So if we just change it to export default and then write new password, okay, and if we save this, then that problem will be resolved. And now you can see our page is appearing as it should, okay. So I hope that will help you, okay. And now after this, let's continue with this new password page, okay. So here we are just going to create this new password form. So this is a simple form, okay, like the previous ones we made, just going to contain a new password input and a confirm password input, okay, along with the submit button. So let's move on to this sections folder, and then inside that auth folder, here we are going to create a new file, and that will be called new password form, okay, new password form.js. Again, let's create a new react functional component, or better we can just copy and paste this login form here. Again, will make changes as per our need, okay. So let's go to this new password form, okay, that we just created, and I have pasted this login form here. Let's start by making changes from here. So new password form, or let me just show you a shortcut. So if you click on this login, okay, and then, or let's just select this login form completely, okay, and after this if you click Control D in Windows or Command D in Mac, then you will be able to select all of the login forms here, okay, in the sequence. So we just have to, I'm going to change it to new password form, okay. So you can see that this new password form is changed on both the places, okay. And here, since we are going to ask user for password, so we'll keep this functionality, so password and hide password. And after that, let's just change this name from login schema to new password schema, okay. So new password schema, again going to change here as well, and in this case we'll be actually taking one new password from the user, okay. So new password and confirm password. So I'll just keep the validation same, okay. It's going to be a string and it will be required. It's just that we'll need these two names, new password and confirm password. And let me actually show you how we can do a much better validation. So with this required, we are also going to impose the condition of min length, okay. So we'll write this min and then we'll say 6. That means there should be at least 6 characters in the password. So we are going to throw this error if there are not 6 characters or less, okay. So password must be at least 6 characters, okay. I hope this makes sense to you. And after this, in the confirm password, if you know that we are going to actually match if this new password and this confirm password both are same or not. So for that, we are going to actually use this very handy method oneof, okay, which is available inside this yup library. So what we are going to do here is we'll say yup dot ref, okay. So this ref property, using this ref, we can actually fetch the value that is entered inside this new password, okay. So we will actually get that, okay. Then we are, as you can see, we are creating this array, okay. So one value will be the password that is entered in this new password, okay, and the second one will be null. We are just, that is for the case when the user hasn't entered anything, okay. So if, so there is a condition that the confirm password should be one of these. It should be either null or it should be exactly what is entered inside the new password, and if it is not, then we are going to show this error message to the user, password must match, okay. So we are doing this validation at the front end, then we'll be sending the data to the backend, and on the backend as well we will be having validation. So that is an extra layer of security right there, okay. And now we can also actually use this new password and confirm password in the default values. So here I'm just going to keep these two empty, okay, because so default values, let's just keep it empty, and after that this is okay, this thing is also okay, and on submit function is also okay. Now here also we are going to show the error message that may happen after the form is submitted, and in place of the email address we are not going to actually place that. We'll be having new password and confirm password, okay. So let's just change the name, no need to change the level, that will remain the same, or we can just write for the user like new password, what they want to enter they will just write. And let's also add this confirm password input, okay. So I'll also just change the label here to confirm password, and let's actually remove this stack with this forgot password link, and in this button we'll just say submit, okay. So that's what it's going to do, it's going to submit the new value of password along with the confirmed password, okay, to the backend. So let's just save this now, and here we are going to use this new password form that we just created, okay. So let's import it from sections auth and then new password form, and we can use it like this, okay. Now after saving this, let's go back to our application, and then you can refresh your page, okay, and you can see we have these new password and confirm password, and also our validation is working, okay, just like we have programmed it. And now there is one just thing that we need to fix here, and It's that there is no spacing between button and this input component. So what I'm going to do, again, we can move this button inside the stack. Okay, so let's just do that, just like this, and now it's looking much better. So I hope you liked this video. Make sure to press the thumb icon, okay, that is going to actually motivate me to create more parts ASAP. And also please make sure to leave your comment down below. Okay, you can tell me what we can improve, okay, and what other content you would like to watch on this channel. If you have any doubts, please make sure to join our Discord channel. Okay, the link is given in the description. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching this.